Okay, so we're gonna get back here to more development. Between the last video and this video, I did really quickly rewrite the packet system for MFFS. I'll go ahead and show off the new functionality, how it looks and how it behaves, just to show that it is functioning properly. However, we're going to be working on the armory mod again, and we're going to be working maybe on some turrets, either in this video or the follow-up video, as my client does want his guns and stuff sooner than later. That being said, I am cooking, so we might have to break these videos down into smaller segments than normal, but that should be fine. Additionally, I'm talking to Lim HDC in chat about potentially making one of his mods obsolete and utilizing the armory mod here soon, so he might be porting some code over. We'll see how that goes. I'm hoping he will, as I absolutely need more developers working on my mods. I don't care about sharing credit or functionality or whatever. Let's see. Damage source, cosplayer, damage. So what he's trying to tell me is how he implemented his protection system. So he's got, his gun supports protections, but right now mine's untested. Okay, so we're going to show off the GUI and show how it's functioning off. It's working pretty well now, so I've pretty much called that piece of functionality finished. So we open it up, we get a nice thing here. The scroll bar does still need to be fixed. It's literally just going between 0 and 1 because whoever programmed the scroll bar behavior didn't take into account that the scroll speed on some mouses is really high. Mine goes between negative 120 and 120. That's literally what mine is, which means mine's crap. The item renders up here. I implemented that to fix the system not updating. So when you click things, it updates properly now. So you can change things. You get access to everything. There's an empty space here, which I don't know what that even does. But everything's good. You can update the player name. And I still have to implement UIDs on here. I might add some additional tabs to the permission system when we finally get it running. But I do kind of want to phase out the whole card-based system for permissions. So this is only going to be here for future versions, and then it's going to be replaced by a NGY system. I tried to implement this in 1.6 and 1.5 for Calcalavia, but he never really took the system. But in the in the biometric identifier, what we'll end up having is you'll have a list of users, or you'll have a global ID. So if you put in global ID, it'll feed off the global system, and then it'll just function. And in the global system, you'll set all your permission and stuff. If you don't want a global permission system, you can make a local one. Although with the global permission system, you can have as many different subgroups as you want. So you could, in theory, set all of your base to use that global system. And that will be implemented here pretty soon, actually. The code is majority already there. Anyways, we're going to move on to guns. So let's see what we're stayed at. We're probably going to test with the rifle. Is how we're going to do this. And we need to test... I have no way to test protection, so I can't do that for Lim here right now. He'll have to do that on his own. I do know the rifle does work. Because it actually does work. It doesn't have any effects in it. We're going to have to add more effects. So, you know, what we're going to probably do... I know all this stuff works properly. We're just going to go straight to the Sentry gun. So we got a lot of code to do for that. I'm going to come back to testing MFFS later. There's not a lot more to go back through. There has been a few requests for patches and fixes so far. There's been people that want to get increased speed out of things. That's going to come later. I'm not really focused on performance right now. But let's go ahead, and we need a functional Sentry gun. So right now I've got tile base and I've got entity Sentry gun. Trying to think of how to do this. I want to use an entity because if I use an entity, that means everything can damage it. There's no excuses of why it can't be damaged. But the trick with this is I'm not sure how functional we're at, and I'm not sure where we're going to be at right now for everything. So what do we got right now? So we got a fire rat system, and we're pretty much just firing a particle beam. That's how we're going to test our weapon right now. We've got a tile sentry base. And it's been a while since I've looked at this code, so I'm not quite sure where we're at right now. Oh, we're gonna need quite a few things here. When I kind of started working on this, I tried to leap a little too far downwind in order to start getting this going. Okay, if we're turned on, we want to drain energy cost. Energy cost is set by the Sentry data. We're just going to force the Sentry data for the moment. So we're going to go Sentry data equals new Sentry data. And we're not going to bother with any JSON loading. I think there is a loader for the, maybe. Okay, there is not a loader right now for JSON data. It needs gun data, so we need to feed it a gun. So we're going to have to grab a gun. So we're going to come down here, and we're going to go if Sentry data equals null, Sentry data equals something. We're going to get gun data, so we're going to go gun data, data equals new, or equals armory data handler dot instance dot get, I believe I want gun, and then I want to get, we need to grab some kind of gun. So armory is going to have a handgun in it by default. So we're going to go and we want to grab this real quick. So we're going to grab a test object. That'll be our gun. And we're just going to cast this real quick. So this needs a processor, an ID, and a name. So we're going to set the null. And we're just going to go test Sentry. And then test Sentry. And we're going to go Sentry data dot, oh come on, this is accessible, why can't I access it? Oh, I'm accessing the entity. Sentry dot gun data equals data. That'll give me most of my information. I'm not going to worry about armor and HP, I'm not going to worry about any of this stuff, it's just going to be defaulted so we can run it. That'll give us something to work with. I'm not going to worry about the Sentry stack. I'm going to leave the save code here. Actually, I'll leave the load code here too. Just right now we won't have a Sentry stack. What the Sentry stack would be the actual Sentry gun item you have placed in the base. So there'll be a base and you'll have to place a Sentry gun on the base. Various Sentry guns will behave differently. Like the one I'm going to build for the client is going to be an independent Sentry, which means it's both the base and the top of it. So you'll place it down and it'll spawn both objects. This will be handled via the item. Right now we're just going to test core functionality and just kind of progress forward and see where we're going to go with everything. So I want to see if we have registered our Sentry gun. We do not have it registered. So public static block, and then we want block Sentry. I'm probably going to recode the whole tile for this here later. I'm not going to do it right now on camera, but this does need to be reloaded. And is there an engine.all? Request all. No, there's not one. I think there probably is one, I just don't know what it's called. But we're gonna go block Sentry equals get manager dot new block, and we want to do tile Sentry base dot class. And we're good to go there. That registers everything. And then that's a to-do for later. There's our ammo projectiles. So we don't really have much to worry about. This should load up without much of an issue. And we should be able to sit here and toy with the Sentry gun, and I should be able to knock it out pretty quickly. One quick thing I need to do is to limb real quick is check to see how my damage is being applied. should be damage simple. So damage simple, and for some reason we got a static up here. I'm not sure what that's being used for. Probably damage types. So we apply damage source shooter, and this is entity based damage source. Okay. And I'm just going to type something up here real quick. So, what's it called? Damage source dot cause player damage. Entity damage source. Okay. Okay, answered his question. And we're just going to keep progressing forward here. So I was actually hoping not to have to work on Sentry guns anytime soon because of the fact that they do need a lot of work. There's GUIs that have to come into play, permission systems, targeting systems, a little bit of everything. Armory, and we have our Sentry gun here. It is doing nothing. Okay. Let's see what we got. We haven't registered an entity. That's a goof on my part. So when you go down here, I need to copy this. Okay, that registers our Sentry gun. And doesn't equal null turned on if Sentry gun equals null. Okay. I think I've actually designed the Sentry bases to be part of the guns. I may have to revisit this later. There's quite a few things I gotta do because if the old ICBM Sentry guns were where you placed a base for them, and then actually, you know what I forgot I was gonna do is there's gonna be 2 tiles. There's gonna be one called the Sentry ammo feeder, or base is what it's actually gonna be called, and this is gonna be the tile Sentry. So we're gonna rename this. This will be tile Sentry. And then there'll be another tile that'll go below this that'll actually relay power, relay ammo, relay all these stuff. So this is just going to be used for the gun itself, and it's going to be really short, so I'm going to set the size here. So set bounds, or actually bounds equals new cube 0, 0, 0, 1.1.1, and that'll be a really small tile. And then probably needs a texture, and we're actually going to bring these in by 0.1 as well. So bring in both the corners by 0.1 and bring these by 0.9, and that'll give us a tile that does exist, but it's a little bit scaled differently, and you know, I'll do the tile like that. We're still going to have to spawn our Sentry gun. And I don't know how well the Sentry gun is designed. So we get Sentry data, which data has to be initialized. So then we want to go here. We got to spawn our Sentry gun server side. Doesn't equal null, energy cost. So I'm going to go here. So I'm going to go if Sentry equals null. I'm going to go Sentry equals new entity Sentry. We want to set the world object, of course. So this will behave long enough. And then Sentry.set position xi, yi, zi. And then we're going to plus by 0.5. So we're going to center the Sentry gun, and then this will be adjustable based on data. So we're going to go to do adjust based on data. I'm going to go world.spawn entity in world. Sentry. Yeah, it's all good. And then we need to set the Sentry data. So we go Sentry.Sentry data. Okay, so that sets everything up. That creates our Sentry gun. We want to do one more thing, because I don't want the Sentry guns to actually save with the world. So there is a method for this. I don't remember what it's called. We're probably going to use the mounted Y offset here later, because we're going to make Sentry guns that are not AIs. But that'll be another time. Yeah, I can't find that method. I'm going to go look for it later. There's a method that, you know, actually that might be in the entity living stuff, and we're using straight out entity class. So this all looks good, okay. I'm gonna go if Sentry doesn't equal null. And is our Sentry turned on by default? We want to make sure it's turned on by default. And what is the running check being used for? Okay, it's down here. I don't care about that. So we're gonna go Sentry.set position, and we want to make sure we're forcing this position to exist. That's just kind of housekeeping. And we'll run it real quick. We're not going to have any 3D models in this right at the moment. I'll have to go code 3D models later. It will use the existing JSON entity system to render. So all we have to do is just create a class and tell it how to render. The base will be the same way. So how the base is designed to work is you'll have it render the tripod of a Sentry gun, for example, and then the turret will render, or the entity will render the turret of the thing. And so render the gun, the laser pointer, everything else, etc. This will give a smoother transition. All we have to do is, actually, I might make the entity render everything. Actually, I got a better idea. We'll make the tile render it all, so that way we don't have to worry about the entity bouncing around, because the entity will be invisible, and the only thing we're using the entity for is as a attractor for AIs to attack, and as a hitbox for things to attack. So if a player shoots at the turret and he hits the hitbox, he hits the turret. For the moment, we're going to use pretty boxy hitboxes. Future down the road, everything's going to migrate to really precise hitboxes. We're talking about, like, the barrel would have a hitbox, the turret would have a hitbox, the tripod would have a hitbox. This will also reflect over on the player. We'll do proper hitboxes for players. The plan is to actually do proper hitboxes for all entities, so instead of having that really big hitbox, which is larger than the entity, it'll actually match the entity down precisely. I have the code already built up for this. I started working on it like a year and a half ago. I never fully tested it because it was just becoming more and more difficult to work with, because I had no way to render the hitboxes. And if you can't render the hitboxes, you really can't tell if you've matched them correctly. You can try to do code testing, and code testing showed that the hitboxes would rotate properly. Anyway, so we have a system here, and theoretically, because I'm seeing a shadow here, there is something here that it's rendering. So I want to open up the terminal and see what's going on. Okay, I don't see anything. I might not get a breakpoint there. Okay. Turned on is false. Why is turned on false? Actually, I know it's false. Hit play. Ah, that's our Sentry gun. And it's already ray tracing towards something which it can't see. So, VE Butcher 1000. And I need to go peaceful mode. VE remove living 1000. What are you aiming at? Watch it be something retarded, like a fire particle or something. Normally I wouldn't be doing this, but I actually am really curious what it's aiming at. That is so far underground that my kill living check did not hit it. How far are we below ground? Oh, we're not even close to the bottom. Oh, we got a big cave here. Still haven't hit what I'm looking for. Ah, it's a bat. I came all this way for a bat. Oh, I can hear it. Oh, we got lava. Take a screenshot of this. That actually looks kind of cool. Okay. What are you aiming at? Don't tell me you just immediately... No, you are still aiming at something. You're aiming right here. There's at least... Of course I can't see anything once we're at the bottom of the map. Oh, biggest waste of time. Okay. I've now wasted multiple minutes of your time to just see where that sentry gun was aiming at. And where in the world? Oh, where was it? There. Okay, so I need to recode this to aim at living targets, I guess. Which is weird because it should already be programmed to do that. Yeah, mob selector, so... It's aiming at a zombie. That'll fix it. Okay, so it's programmed to aim at mobs pretty much right now. Which means I need to go time, set, night, and I need to create a test box. Most of you are probably not familiar. This is how I test my sentry guns. It's probably the easiest way to do it. Because the sentry guns will be able to ray trace through glass if we ever make a ray tracer. We're not going to probably do the ray tracing at the moment. I'm just going to do basic functionality. Although ray tracing would be really easy to do. What am I looking for? I'm looking for a creeper, for example. I need to set to easy. I need to just make a mod where I can turn off mob spawning. We need a new world. Single player. I am going to just straight out delete this world, and we're going to create a new super flat. The reason I'm doing this, I need to control mob spawning. I got an email, or actually I got a bug report. You know what? I'm actually tempted to go check my trash can real quick and see what that message originally said. Wouldn't be the first time I've had somebody report a bug, and then so we are looking for all emails by Lightcat. Sometimes works on mobs and not players. Okay, so it's what he said. That's what I get for trying to answer bug reports really early in the morning. Well, that was only 3 hours. Whatever. I don't really care. We want to test our Sentry guns. So, do this. Okay. You are tracing that thing. It's tracking perfectly well. It's good to see. Particle stream sucks though. I might make a new particle for this. I probably could get it to spawn smoke. So is valid is working out pretty well. We want to aim at it, so is aimed. That's the next thing to work on. So we're gonna have to close this, and I'm gonna go copy some code from ICB real quick, because I don't want to rewrite all this code, because it's easy to say it's annoying to do the basics over and over and over again. It's good practice, I do admit this, but I've done it so many times now that I just get annoyed at rewriting it. Okay, here's the FOS station. Where's the AMS station? Right, there it is. So tile AMS, okay, aim, current aim, default aim, rotation speed. Okay. We're actually not going to need current aim, because that's what we're going to actually be at. Aim is where we want to be aimed at, and default aim is where we return to when we're done. This will be based off the rotation of the block below us, and this is going to be passed into us from the target. So tile AMS has a lot of code in it. I turned off the servo sound. Current aim, move towards, etc. You know what? We're actually gonna bring back the current aim, and I don't really care that we're gonna do double on the data points. I want to make this as easy as possible. Is aimed, aim at. So we go aim at. We want to implement this code here down here. So delta time is going to be a variable that is going to be run server side only. This is for animation checks, by the way. The reason why I'm storing delta time is that if you keep track of how long it's taken for the tick to run, if you get a lag spike, the Sentry gun will catch up. And it makes it look so much smoother than what it used to be. Okay, so we went last rotation update as well. Gonna put this up here. I'll reorganize these later. So I'm gonna aim at, and then what we want to do is this dot rotation yaw equals current aim dot rotation current aim dot yaw. This dot rotation pitch equals current aim dot pitch. And we're gonna have to cast both these. Cast a float. Cast a float. What else do we need? We don't really need much else. Okay, so we use a particle spawn system over here as well. So here's aim, here's center. Here's this. We want to send an aim packet at some point. So we want to get new pause this, and we'll have to adjust the size of this. Cast the entity. We don't need this part. We're gonna. Well, I guess we probably could. No, we're just gonna comment this out. Yeah, because aim should sync for us automatically, so we don't need to actually send an aim packet to the client. That's handled for us. So we just need to update our aim. So this will be update aim point, and then aim at point. This actually surprisingly probably doesn't need to be down here. I'm gonna need to put this right here, and is aimed. It needs to be this check right here. Aim is within. We got current aim, and there should be some error bars. So rotation speed is what our error bar is. Looks good, looks good. Fire at, send packet. And then fire out, we've got a whole system for here. Consume ammo. Okay, that looks good. Alright, where was I? I do want to thread this eventually. I don't know if I'll do that on camera or not. The threading process will be more of hit or miss. I'll probably just have to do a lot of experimentation. But what would end up coming out of it is I would detect all the entities and what's valid, and I'll do all the sorting. So to do, actually we already have all this down there. So we would sort all the targets by distance. We would then sort by armor within that same classification. So if you have two targets that are the same distance from each other relatively, we'll round that, by the way, and then it will check what's the best. And these will all be configurable via settings, so as in all controlled by via settings. So now we need to go and just launch a debug again. And this turret more than likely will be migrated to utilize the armory stuff. So what's going to happen is the armory mod will exist. It won't have any content preloaded in it, so this will help you guys out. You'll then take ICBM and you'll load up with ICBM the armory mod, and it'll give you access to the AMS turret, and it'll give you access to the rocket launcher, as I'm going to actually take and change the rocket launcher to use the armory data. It's already been prefabbed out that way. All of the missiles are actually considered as ammunition for the armory mod, and they've always been that way. So that means you could utilize the rockets and other mods, as long as that other mod decides that that's a valid ammunition for its rocket launcher. But the idea is the rocket launcher doesn't really fit properly into the ICBM mod. The ICBM mod is about missiles only. It's not about rocket launchers. It's not about launching systems. It's meant to be reflecting around creating missiles and firing missiles. So that'll be migrated over to the armory mod. And if we get this all working here, a couple videos from now, I'll do a missile launching turret. I already have all the models for it. Let me actually go find it. It's not that folder. So if we go Google Drive, work. Actually, I should have a bookmark for this already. Here we go. Requests, models, ICBM, turrets. So there's AMS by Grogger, and here's the micro launcher. You can probably see this the screenshot right there. I can't actually launch up this to look at it, but I can launch this up to see this. My SketchUp's installed incorrectly, but there's the turret. This will be a 6-pack launch, and it'll be used primarily as a anti-missile system, but I'm not going to tell you guys what not to use it for. So I'll let you guys shoot any of these with these. I'll let you shoot range targets. I'll set up some arcing system for it so you can use it like a mortar if you guys want to. That'll all come later though. We also should have another turret here. I think I can load this up. I think this is another one by Grogger. I don't remember though. This might be the AMS turret. Oh, you can't launch it with that. No. Yes, I want to quit. Apparently Coladas want to open up with Photoshop. I'll have to show you guys more of the models later. We got tons of turret models. I want to bring back some of the original turret models. When I originally created the ICBM mod, there was 3 or 4 turrets that existed that no longer exist anymore. And we're not aiming, are we? Could that be because we're not syncing the aim code to the client? I don't think that's the case. Actually, this class I want to look at. Okay, so we get our aim point, create our aim, clamp to a certain degree. That gives our aim set. Okay, it is aimed. Fires that. So we messed up something with his aimed. Current aim. What we need to do is set current aim dot set rotation rotation pitch 0. So we update everything. Hit play. Should rotate. Oh, it's not even aiming properly. So we hit here. Okay. So we got our aim point. We get our current aim. -3K. We go to is aimed, is within, no. We go to aim at. Okay, maybe I need to set rotation. Is there a method for that? There is a method for set rotation, which doesn't do anything. Like, none of this stuff actually changes anything. We're going to call it anyways because that's just the good thing to do here is make sure we're actually utilizing method calls properly. Okay. Reload that, hit play. You know what might be happening? I didn't think about this. It actually might be rotating properly. What are you aiming at? Oh, you're aiming at the farther. Okay, so it more than likely is actually rotating. And what I didn't think about is this bounding box is the bounding box. The bounding box does not move. So we're going to have to restart. I'm going to have to create a render object real quick. Good news is I can just copy the one we're using for the projectiles and then duplicate it real quick. So it won't take much time. So item gun render, and we want to take this over to our Sentry. And we want to Sentry render. Fuck it, we'll render a handgun. That works for me. We need to get rid of all this code. I don't need this. This is an item render, and I didn't think about this. I'm utilizing the wrong object. I need projectile render. So we want to render entity Sentry. Cool, this will work. Yeah, rendering a gun would be not a horrible idea. So entity Sentry. It's not what I want. I want the entity state from the gun. So go handgun, and does handgun have a render? No, the handgun doesn't even have a render. Shotgun does, I think. You know what, I'm gonna go use the RPG from... That's not gonna work either. Just scrap this code. Scrap this code. Get rid of this code. Do it this way. Then I just need a model. Where's that handgun at? So if we go item gun, grab the handgun model, put it up here. Then we just go and let's get rid of this pop call. Get rid of that push call. Then handgun dot render all, and then we need to just bind a texture, which if we go here, we'll find a texture to bind. I want the fake gray texture. There we are. Bind that. Should work. We just now have to register it. So we want to come over here, still this code here. Put this here, entity Sentry, and then render entity Sentry. And we relaunch. And we should see a little handgun floating. There's a lot of work we'll still have to do on this, but I'm going to end the video here as soon as we get seeing if it's rendering correctly. And then I got to go back to finishing cooking. Because I've left my food out there for 40 minutes. Luckily, the only thing I'm doing is boiling broth, so letting it boil almost to the bottom doesn't bother me at all. Because then that just reduces the content of it, which is what I wanted to do anyways. Especially since I'm concerned if that chicken broth is edible or not. Boiling it for an extended period of time will guarantee whatever's in it is dead. Nuances of cooking. Still not sure what I was actually going to cook though. Probably noodles. It's really the only thing I got left right now. Noodles, a couple pieces of chicken, a few cans of soup, more noodles, some salt. Actually, I think I'm out of salt. I don't know who used the rest of it. Tempted to go get the baking soda out and some vinegar and just have some fun here. Might actually do that to clean off my stove. Just do a volcanic reaction type thing. The fuzzing of the bubbles and the aggregate of the baking soda will make it easy to scrub off. I need to add those to Minecraft. That'll be cool to do a little volcano in Minecraft. Be like a really easy mod. I do want to make a mod that's actually geared towards science projects. Oh yeah, look at that. Haha. It is freaking out, but it is working. Why is it freaking out though? But we'll end the video here. I'll be back.